Barclays and the Department for International Trade have signed a 5-year partnership that will support UK businesses to grow and expand through international trade. It's our aspiration to help more businesses grow and succeed through trading overseas in order to secure their long-term prosperity. Now, we know how difficult and time-consuming it can be for SMEs to research the global marketplace. So rather than focus upon different international regions, we have worked with the Department for International Trade, who were also known as the DIT, and other partners to make it as easy as we can for time-poor business owners such as yourselves to access key export insight by creating a series of on-demand, sector-focused videos. Now, by looking at key sectors, we can help businesses understand where the global markets are and therefore reduce the time that they need to spend looking for new opportunities. These videos will point businesses in the right direction and ensure that the support and insight is focused around their activity. My name is Paul Bowman from Barclays, and I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Aphrodite Spanou, DIT's Director of Healthcare, Life Sciences and Chemicals at the Department for International Trade, who will talk to us about how you can take advantage of the global healthcare and life sciences and chemical opportunities across the world, sharing some practical advice for businesses involved in this sector. Now, the views and opinions she expresses are her own and do not constitute advice from Barclays. And also note that each business is different, and we do recommend that you carry out your own independent research before you make any decisions that will impact your business. So, Aphrodite, welcome and thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your thoughts.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Perhaps let's just start with a quick introduction of what DIT its role is really. Would that help?
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So the Department for International Trade, and as you said, Paul, DIT for short, secures UK and global prosperity by promoting and financing international trade and investment and championing free trade. DIT helps businesses export and grow into global markets. We also help overseas companies locate and grow in the UK. There's a significant piece that we published about a year ago. This is a 12-point export strategy. It includes key features that could support any size of any business in the life sciences, healthcare, and chemical sector. Specifically, I wanted to mention a few of these, which would be of relevance. Launching the Made to the UK, Sold to the World campaign, championing the UK's priority sectors through an innovative, localized marketing campaign that will promote the best of UK goods and services in our towns and cities. The Export Support Service, ESS for short, provides a single point of contact for exporters to Europe. Since launching in October last year, the new export hotline, an online service, has helped hundreds of businesses to get exporting. There's also the UK Export Academy, which we have expanded to offer SMEs in all parts of the UK, including Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, the chance to learn how to navigate technicalities, exporting issues, and how to find new opportunities in overseas markets. And I also wanted to add that we have a new UK trade show program, which will be big and better, targeted to give UK companies, especially SMEs, a leg up to exhibit their first-class products at the world's biggest trade shows. Finally, I wanted to mention that we have in place an outstanding organization. It's a world-leading export credit agency, the UK Export Finance, which will expand its offer and new products with a wider delivery network, and that will make it easier for UK exporters to secure businesses from overseas buyers. So this is briefly really the key things that we're targeting in terms of our export strategy for all sizes, either large, small, or medium-sized companies in the three distinctive sectors.
That's great. Thank you very much. So thinking of your sector in particular, the healthcare, life sciences and chemicals sector, where do you see the opportunities for UK businesses looking to grow through exports?
We see a variety of markets actually able to absorb, if you like, UK innovations. Each market, each sector has specific markets that we regard as a success. We are present in all regions, either it's in the Middle East, China, Asia Pacific, North America, Europe, South Asia, or Africa. Each sector is more significant in one or two or three other regions, but they all collectively have presence across all regions that DIT has networks. So if I was asked which are the particular markets for life sciences, I would say North America is a significant market. I would say that Latin America is a significant market. If I was asked for chemicals, I would say Europe, China, and Asia Pacific. And if I was asked around healthcare, the wider healthcare, if you like, subsectors the UK very successfully promotes, I would say it's the Middle East, Asia Pacific, and China. So it really depends on the sector and the specific subsector of each of the three sectors that we're discussing here today.
That's great, thank you. So thinking of those sectors, and I appreciate that they're varied in nature, different areas of the world as well. Well, what do you feel tends to be the best routes to markets in these regions?
That's a very good question, Paul. I think to be winners in the markets of the future, companies need to be innovative and different in their approach to route to markets. They need to utilize channels and approaches differently to those that are currently available on the basis that today's unique route to market channel is tomorrow's standard offering. Through our network of overseas posts and UK-based trade advisors, DIT can provide support to UK companies wishing to expand into overseas markets. That includes information about the wider business market of a specific region, either its policy, regulation, and many other things that make the local ecosystem. Reasons to why UK businesses may consider expanding in the specific market and what are the current opportunities, and information on overseas investment opportunities for the products and services to be a success. As I mentioned before, we have UKF in place, which helps companies in the UK to win export contracts by providing attractive financing terms to their buyers, fulfill orders by supporting working capital loans, and get paid by ensuring against buyer default. That's a significant package that he offers to those who need that help. And I wanted to add that we also experimented and produced coherent, if you like, country overviews for the markets that we have signed an FTA. For example, if you go to our website, you will find information for many markets, which gives you overviews of the wider business ecosystem in that specific market and what companies need to be aware when liaising or looking to export with a specific country. So it's a variety, if you like, a plethora of opportunities that we provide, as well as a network and established infrastructure to support companies make that journey successful.
That's great, thank you. And I love the word plethora. I try to use it whenever I can. Thinking then, and you touched on a lot of the key things that people need to be aware of and that they need to consider. But what are the key non-financial considerations that businesses should factor in when considering expanding internationally?
That's a very good question, Paul. DIT has trade specialists who can help you commission services from local experts overseas. This includes country and sector advice, local market research, support during overseas visits, identification of possible business partners, preparation for exhibitions, events, missions. So there is quite a plethora of things that we can help you through a wider sort of UK and international network. You can contact a local advisor in the region. If you're based in the Midlands, we have a team in the Midlands who will be there to take your call and help you in your region, but also internationally. So I think that would be basically the bits that they would need to consider and to know that we are here to support in every possible way.
That's great, thank you. And finally, and you did touch on it a little bit there about the overseas support that's available from DIT. But how can DIT help businesses identify partners with which to trade?
There's again a huge, vast amount of mechanisms in place, and I'd like to highlight a few. We have the Find a Supplier service, which allows international buyers to connect with UK businesses. UK buyers looking to be listed on the service can create a business profile. So this is about giving access. We link international businesses with the right UK partners and suppliers through Meet the Buyer events, networking receptions, and product launches. We had 13 launches across this sector, these three sectors this year. There's also tailored information and advice on businesses, which you can find on the grade.gov.uk website, which helps you explore and start exporting really, or increase the amount of goods and services that you can sell overseas. Just to highlight some of these key sort of packages that we offer to help companies. You can use the Selling Online Services tool to find the best marketplaces to showcase your product online. You can take advantage of special deals negotiated by the government for UK businesses and find out more about the government's digital exporting program. Apply for overseas export opportunities for your product or services. Create the business profile, as I mentioned earlier, which can allow you to promote your designated product and services to international buyers. You can contact this local teams, as I mentioned, our trade advisors, which is an important element of our work in your area, which can navigate you through the events, trade fairs, missions, webinars relevant to your sector or overseas markets. So you get that coaching as well, should you be a new exporter and you're looking to understand better the journey. And you can also read about our country export guides to selling overseas. What does it really involve? And our new occasional and frequent exporters, there's guidance on that as well. What do you need to do as a new? What can you do as an occasional? And what you can do as an frequent exporter? So there's a variety of things that we publish online. And we have designated hubs really, including the grade.gov.uk website, which provides all of this information to facilitate more exports for UK companies.
That's great. Thank you, Aphrodite. And I think sometimes the work that the DIT does on the ground in different locations across the world can sometimes be missed. And I think it's a great opportunity for UK businesses to be aware of. So the global opportunities available to UK businesses sound significant and exciting, and the support that DIT can provide, both in the UK and on the ground in these markets, is incredibly helpful. Thank you for speaking to us today and providing this valuable insight to the sector. Thank you.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
We're also joined today by Arshad Dadabhoy, who is a trade and customs specialist at the Institute of Exports and International Trade. Now, the Institute is a key supporter and facilitator of global trade within the UK, and they provide practical guidance and advice for all sizes of business in all sectors. Arshad, first of all, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Paul.
Perhaps you could give us a brief overview as to how the Institute supports businesses who may be looking to trade overseas.
Thank you, Paul. So yeah, we have a whole suite of products and services that can help any company of any size, really, of any experience. So we have public courses, for example, that are targeted at different levels and different levels of expertise. Introduction to importing, exporting, Incoterms, SPS type products, dangerous goods, etc. And what you can do is go onto our website, export.org.uk, and have a look at those products, the courses that are of interest to you. Click and then attend one of them. That's just one of the services that we offer. Another one that we have is a customs health check, very popular. We send an expert out who can audit all your processes and your systems and check and give you advice on and produce a report on how compliant you are. We can provide consultancy on a number of anything, literally on SPS goods, for example, on export licensing, on setting up a bonded warehouse, or on free ports, or on OP or IP, anything like that, we can send a consultant in. If you've got a small, short sort of problem, you can book a 2-hour slot with us, and we can get our expert on. It will walk you through and explain through the challenges that you're facing, and provide some potential solutions there. We've also got a very popular newly launched Vega program, which provides interim support to your organizations. If you need to cover maternity, sickness, anything like that, we can send somebody in to fulfill a sort of compliant export licensing sort of related role too.
So plenty of ways for businesses to access the Institute services then, which is great. Now, we heard from Dr. Aphrodite Spanou from the Department for International Trade earlier about the global opportunities for the healthcare and life sciences sector, especially across the Middle East, China, Asia Pacific, and of course, North America. So with that in mind, what do you see as the biggest barriers for new exporters into these regions, and how can they overcome them?
So this, Paul, is a highly regulated sector, and rightly so. People's health and safety and compliance and all these issues come into mind. And healthcare is a broad and wide sector. It covers many products, many services, many techniques, many chemicals. So, but equally saying that, if you look at the positive side, this is probably one of those sectors that's benefited immensely from globalization. It's one sector that continues on a daily, weekly basis, innovation, growth, product development, new technologies, new techniques. It's a sector that really does amaze me. And the key barrier, we talk about barriers, but it's a regulatory landscape. It is highly regulated. There's a lot of rules, compliance in these areas. And let's just look at COVID, for example. That COVID vaccine, we were midst of a pandemic. People were dying. There was a need and an urgency to create a vaccine, but there were no shortcuts. There was still a regulatory process, trials, reports, analysis, and all the clearances that were required before we were allowed to use them, the likes of me and you that went in for our jabs, etc., etc. And remember, some countries didn't make it into Europe and the UK for regulatory purposes. There were other countries that developed vaccines that didn't get those clearances. So I think the key barrier here is navigating that regulatory framework, understanding it, what are the requirements, and how do we go about tackling them?
Absolutely. And that nicely leads me on to my next question, really. Obviously, thinking from a sector-specific aspect,
Sure.
What are the key challenges around those licensing, the documentation, certification that businesses operating in these regions and this sector are actually going to face? And I suppose, what's the most efficient ways to manage these?
So I used to work in this sector a while ago, and we used to make hospital grade disinfectants. And I'll give you an example. We had some orders in from the Middle East, and we thought it was going to be an easy sell. And then we realized, this is a biocide. In another country, this was a disinfectant. Another country said, well, it's the fertilizer ministry, the agriculture ministry that will deal with the registration. Right, okay. How do we go about registering? You need a local distributor. Okay, we had a local distributor. But the registration then needs to be in the distributor's name, not a foreign entity's name. So it's and it was a bit of learning on the go with me when I was doing this role. So we had to then appoint the distributor, make sure that document was robust and watertight. And then the risks came with registering that sort of the license or the use for that in that local country, but it had to be in the name of the distributor. Now, there's a risk there. If you fall out with that distributor, what happens to that registration? Is he going to sign it off to the next distributor or the agent I appoint? He may not be able to, may not cooperate. He may not play ball. He might be very upset with us. So there's a lot of things here that we do need to consider when looking at this sector, particularly chemicals and health and those types of products. Another thing will be looking at trials. What are the requirements in each country? Some countries, because we're we're Great Britain, we have a reputation around the world. They will accept our approvals by default. Many of them will say, yes, we accept the UK approval, and therefore we don't need to go through any of those processes. Others will say, no, we've got our own system of processes, and you'll need to put testing in, put trials in, produce a local report from local laboratories. And again, it's navigating that landscape. It is complex. It's not easy. You may need to appoint local labs, local experts there to help you. Your agent or your distributor on the ground can facilitate that, given if you choose the right partner, he's already in that sort of sector and he has those contacts that can support you. But once you've got those registrations, then getting traction in that market is relatively easy because it's an easy sell.
Absolutely, and I think you make a really good point regarding the different regimes that there are in terms of testing and licensing, and then understanding what the costs are going to be with associated going through that process versus the market opportunity. So it's really important that people do that research, understand what is required, and then move forward with the right partners in those particular areas, which is great. Thinking then about the Institute, obviously you guys cover off a huge amount of questions and queries, got lots of products and services, lots of information available, in terms of the website. But I suppose, what are the most frequent questions to the Institute asked by businesses looking to export to these particular regions and in this particular sector?
So healthcare is a large sector. Some of them, it also covers medicines and things. So some medicines are controlled. So how do I ship a control product? How do I ship medical? If it's prescription medicine, for example, or if it's an ingredient for a medicine, some of those can be hazardous. Some of those can be equipment can have radiation in there. So how can I ship these types of products? So it's a common question is shipping those particular products. Do I need a license to ship that product? Do I need registration? Is my product exportable? Am I going to be breaking any laws by exporting a particular product? So they want that assurance, clarification, and these are some of the questions that we face for the healthcare sector.
That's great. Completely understand, and very, very, very kind of you for sharing that, Arshad. So there's a huge amount for businesses to think about, explore, and actually prepare for when looking to export efficiently and safely. So thank you very much, Arshad, for actually giving us that guidance from the Institute. Having worked with you guys and the Institute on a number of initiatives before, I know that your expertise is valued by so many different types of clients and parties across the economy. And it's great that you're able to support this series of videos. Thank you very much for today.
My pleasure, Paul. Thank you.
And now over to David Clark, a relationship director within our high growth and entrepreneurs team here in Barclays, and someone who's got a special understanding of the health and health tech sector. Now, David will be giving us an overview of some of the ways in which Barclays is supporting clients in this particular area. So, hello, David. Thank you very much for joining us today.
You're very welcome, Paul. Good to be here.
Now, before we start, the views and opinions that David's going to express are his own and don't constitute advice from Barclays. And also note that each business is different, and we do recommend that you carry out your own independent research before you make any decisions that will impact your business. Now, David, it will be useful for our viewers if you can perhaps give us a quick overview of Barclays business and the team that you support and work alongside.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. So I'm actually based locally in Cambridge, part of the high growth and entrepreneur team across the country now. We've got 3 teams that cover the complete UK, which is great. We're predominantly geared up to support early stage ventures, entrepreneurs looking to grow in industries agnostic, really looking to help them grow, and a particular emphasis around the international trade, working with the likes of the Department of International Trade to really support international growth.
That's great, thank you. And I suppose turning to that matter of international trade and why we're here today, including exporting. In your conversations, what are our clients telling us about the challenges they're facing when trading internationally?
Yeah, it's a good point, Paul. A key consideration that our clients ask us about daily is documentation and regulation. The amount of administration for exporting, for example, for products and services in these sectors can be very significant, notwithstanding other aspects such as Incoterms that define who is responsible for what parts of the distribution and delivery process. This can be very complex, so we look for support, and Barclays can help businesses find out what is needed. Clients also want to understand the benefits of exporting and what impact will it have on their existing businesses. What will be the additional administration requirements, and how do they resource these from external sources? As with any form of business, a perennial issue is how do they identify these new opportunities, where they can go to find the new markets, and which ones will be best suited to their products, for example. It was great to hear from Dr. Spanou of the DIT as to the potential of UK exporters in the health, life sciences and health tech sector, especially opportunities in China, the Middle East, Asia Pacific and North America. Certainly resonates for life sciences and healthcare that we see in Cambridge, and we have some great examples of where we've supported clients across these industries, especially locally in Cambridge. Finally, the practicalities of trading overseas is always of interest to our clients. The way in which potential overseas clients do business, such as the likely payment terms, what are the preferred routes to market, how products marketed or delivered. Whilst Barclays can answer every question from our side, we can help with summon signposts to organisations such as the Department of International Trade and the Institute of Expert to really add that expertise for them.
Absolutely. And I think whilst we are hearing from customers what the big challenges that they're facing, what do you believe the biggest challenges are to international growth for these businesses, and how can they overcome these challenges?
Yeah, I get a good question. A significant part of the challenge is knowing who to speak to and where to go for guidance and advice. And here at Barclays, we really try hard to signpost that and support our clients. The support shown by the DIT and also the Institute of Export helps to demystify much of the complexity around practical issues. Many Barclays clients have spoken to us about the less identifiable aspects, such as setting their business up for export, ensuring that staff are trained in the processes and administration, and also how they can do this in a sustainable fashion, which is becoming ever more important. Businesses that look at exports as a key part of their strategy will ensure that issues such as these are baked into their processes, but there are still many other financial challenges that have to be borne in mind, such as different payment terms and payment security, credit arrangements, and the possible impacts on their overall cash flow of longer supply chains or multiple routes to market, especially coming through the last few years. Can their business manage the longer term payment terms that may be required without detriment to their existing domestic trade, for example? Another aspect is that businesses may not consider that their products or services part of a particular sector, and as such may not look for opportunities. Understanding how transferable or flexible your own offering is can be crucial to taking advantage of overseas opportunities. One last point that is of concern that we're seeing and we are frequently asked about is how can businesses find out the businesses that will transact with them? The ease of insight can be a considerable challenge. So it's great to hear of the support that the DIT can provide, for example, with on-the-ground access and support in different countries.
Thank you, David. I think some of those points really resonate with me, especially around businesses thinking about international trade as a key component of their business, and therefore setting themselves up and as you said, baking this particular piece into their overall strategy, their resources and their setup, so that it doesn't adversely impact on their domestic opportunities. And I think as well, it was a really interesting point that you flagged about businesses that don't actually think that their product or service could be exported. Lots of different ways in which lots of different applications or products that are being manufactured, especially in the sector, the health tech and the life sciences world. They have multiple different applications, and making sure that we've explored all of those possibilities and how they can be used in different ways, I think is absolutely key. Of course, making sure that we've got the right documentation, licensing, certification, etc., etc. Thinking about some of those things, but perhaps slightly more broadly from a financial services perspective, How is Barclays helping our clients overcome some of these challenges that we spoke earlier about, and maximising some of the opportunities we've heard about?
Yeah, again, a very good question. Well, businesses may need to provide some form of security or guarantee to a beneficiary, such as an advance payment guarantee or HMRC bond for duty deferments, for example. Historically, we've done and supported quite a lot of that with the support from the DIT. We can help businesses with these requirements as well, ensuring that they understand their responsibilities when using them. We can also help businesses with their payment security. There is a trade-off called the risk ladder, where the way in which a client pays dictates how much risk they may be of non-payment. We help businesses understand what their risks may be when receiving payment upfront or an open account, and can help businesses understand the benefits of using documentary collections or letters of credit, for example. And of course, we can help with all kinds of payment acceptance methods and foreign currency requirements. For example, if a business has incoming and outgoing in the same currency, using a simple foreign currency account can help manage and reduce or extinguish foreign exchange risks altogether. Within the high growth team as well, we can support with insight and opportunities to learn across a wide range of topics, including raising equity funds, accessing new support channels, and key management learning opportunities.
David, thank you very much for that informative summary. Just a quick point from me, letters of credit products are available to clients of Barclays Bank UK PLC through referral to Barclays Bank PLC. Referred products will be owned and administered by Barclays Bank PLC, and a portion of the revenue generated from referred products may be shared with Barclays UK PLC. Alternative service providers in the market may offer similar products, and all credit and risk policies are subject to individual businesses' financial status, and of course terms and conditions apply. So there are many ways in which Barclays is helping its clients to access these global opportunities and ensure that they grow with confidence and security. David, many thanks for your time today, taking us through some of these issues. It's been great to hear how you, Barclays, and our colleagues are supporting businesses within this sector. Thank you very much.